So I want to talk about matrix manipulation today. Manipulating this matrix that I'm inside of and you may be inside of, and how that works. Now, if you are inside the matrix, you're not able to be a puppet master, right? You cannot control all of these other people that are around you. You can only control yourself. But through manipulating the ways in which you control yourself, you can have all sorts of interesting encounters, go strange places, watch the world, the matrix, literally shift and move and change depending on the energy that you're putting into it and depending on where your attention and energy is flowing. So, if you are inside the matrix, the only way that you can manipulate the matrix is by controlling yourself, manipulating yourself. Let me give you an example. I did what I would say is my first serious fast last summer of 2024. And in the beginning, I had planned to do a 20-day fast. I had done some smaller fasts here and there, 24-hour fast, 2-day fast, 3-day fast. Some of those just because I ran out of money, some of those because I wanted to do it. But I wanted to try something longer and more serious. And 20 days was pretty ambitious, but that was my goal. So I began this fast. At this same time, so this fast was a moment in self-control, right? Manipulating myself, controlling myself, shifting what I was doing, not trying to shift what others were doing or this sort of thing. So 2 days into this fast, I believe it was 2 days in, I was walking along this pathway in this park that I was in at the time, and I was wearing a cross. I have been, at that time of that fast particularly, I was really considering and kind of wrestling with Jesus Christ and kind of what that meant for me. And that was part of the reason, not the only reason, but part of the reason I was doing this fast. The other part was just simply because all of our food is poisonous, and I was trying to see what it would be like to remove that poison from me. But anyways, I'm wearing this cross and I'm walking down this pathway in this park, and I encounter this homeless guy about my age, and I had seen him before here and there in this area, so it wasn't the first time I'd seen him. And this day he happened to also be wearing a cross, very similar to the one that I had on. And I stopped and I talked to him, and I was asking him how he was doing, and he was saying that he was not doing well, that he had gotten kicked out of the last place that he had been staying in, and that he had been living on the street for the past few days, and was just not doing well. And so I decided to take him in for a little bit to see if I could help him find a new place to stay, or just give him a space for a moment so that he wasn't out on the street. And so I went to his campsite, he took me there, and it was soaked, right? All of his clothes were just soaked with rain, and it was just either clothes were on the clothing line soaked, or they were just in the dirt. It was just a bad situation. But so, cleaned it up, went to the laundromat, did some laundry, and I brought him back to my house because I had a spare room at the time, and he was going to stay in there. Now also, William had not eaten in a few days. And I asked him what he wanted to eat, and he wanted Champy's Chicken. I don't know if you've ever been to Champy's Chicken, but it is a fast food place, or, yeah, I mean, it's essentially fast. I guess it's sit down, but like, from a sense of the food quality, right, it is fast food. Oily, fried goodness. And so I took him to Champy's, and I'm sitting there drinking my water a couple days into my fast, watching him scarf down this oily, fried, wonderful, good smelling food in front of me. And so then we went home. And this continued. So as he stayed with me for a few days, I continued on this fast. And each time William wanted to eat, he always wanted to eat some sort of fast food. So I was taking him to Zaxby's to get Zaxby's and watching him eat this delicious fast food in front of me. I got him pizza, which then he took home. I think it was day 3 or 4 of my fast, where I think kind of day 4 I started really feeling like, you get weaker, your mind gets a lot clearer, but your body feels weaker. You want to be resting a lot, right? You're not trying to move around a ton when you are fasting. And so my house is now smelling of, pizza as I am on this fast. And so each day that William stayed with me, there was this pull from him, right? Where I was fasting and he was eating fast food. Food that specifically would tempt me. And at the time, I didn't truly see what was happening. But what was happening was that I made a decision to fast. And through that decision, I summoned an entity. Not out of thin air, not out of nowhere, not out of happenstance, but I summoned this entity, this homeless man who wanted to eat all sorts of great fast food in front of me while I was fasting. That was an entity that was summoned by this matrix that I exist inside of. So it wasn't like I summoned a spirit or I did some sort of, ritual on the ground that made a demon come forward or any of that. All I did was made the choice to fast. And through making that choice to fast, I summoned a human being, real person, physical spirit. Because I'm being watched constantly. Because the decisions that I'm making are being constantly watched and, notes being made upon. I'm sure I got a big old file, right? So through that action, of fasting, I made a decision for me, right? I made a decision to, let's say, self-sacrifice. And I did, in a way, if you go back to my magic book video, I did light magic. I did something that summoned a person forth. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, how are you?
Good. And so that's what I mean when I'm talking about matrix manipulation through the self-control or manipulation of one's self. Through the way in which you control yourself, you know, whether that's restricting, right? A restricting would be like fasting. Restricting would be moving away from all types of different addictions. Or the other way is the blasting out of your attention and energy, right? When you funnel a ton of your human energy in one particular direction, at least in my case, this matrix system will adjust to that, right? It's not necessarily just, I mean, it's both. It's both base reality, because it's real human being, right? William was a real person that stayed with me. And also it's the brain matrix that's sitting on top of that, or the human constructed matrix, the coyote constructed matrix that the dogs live inside of. And so if you put a ton of energy in a particular direction, that will also influence the matrix. And I think that has been the case heavily with the work that I have done in terms of storytelling and writing, and that whole realm of my life that I have been very passionate about and very serious about. And through the attention and energy that I have funneled towards that realm, I have received energy back in ways that have been much larger than I even anticipated, in ways that were much bigger than I ever thought was going to happen. Which is pretty cool. Though none of it frees me from the fundamental matrix itself, the experiences are seeing that me as an alive soul, and as somebody that is not under full mental subjugation to a system, to a particular written law, to a particular mental principality, like a culture or a religion or a national identity or these sorts of things, my soul impacts this constructed matrix. Whether I am restricting energy or whether I am sending that energy outwards, either way, my soul is having an impact to the level where I am literally summoning human beings into my reality. Intentionally or unintentionally. Because you can unintentionally summon as much as you can intentionally summon. You can bring characters into your reality that you wish were not there, or that you did not expect to be there. Because you are always manifesting. And because reality itself is so interconnected, human beings have wanted to control that interconnectedness of reality. And they do so through created structures that flow with and around the God-created soul reality that is base layer, right? Human beings did not create human beings. God created human beings. But human beings can be placed in a sort of sheep system or a dog system or whatever you want to call that. And that's the system that exists on top. And so because of that interconnectedness, we are truly summoning, right? I summon human beings into my reality. And I believe that you are doing that too. Especially if you are a dog inside this matrix. Like Sam from Under the Silver Lake. And so I would challenge you to try summoning. Try a fast. Because isn't that fascinating that I fasted and the opposite of the fasting me came forth, right? William and I were a yin-yang for a moment, right? Me fasting, him eating as much fast food as he possibly can for every single meal. Right? It's a balance. And you know, his purpose was ultimately to make me in my fast. And I said, 20-day fast. I did not make it 20 days. I believe it was the morning of day 7. I broke the fast, I believe. I think I made it 6 full days water fasting. So water only, nothing else. No nothing, right? No nothing. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't eating. Water only. That was the fast. And yeah, I mean, it was, even 6 days was tough. But so mentally clearing. And I think being a kind of a solitary person, kind of a hermit, especially in this last year when I have had a house to myself, it allowed for more of a detachment. More of a detachment from all the different hooks like I was talking about in yesterday's video. And again, not a complete detachment, but more awareness to the hooks and the patterns and these sorts of things. So I would encourage you, if that is something that you want to see more clearly, if you want to feel what is me versus what is, food and drugs and all these things that go into me, do a fast. 3 days is great. 3 days is really, really good. But yeah, magic is real. It is. It just is. Like, you summon people, you summon entities. In a way, you probably summoned your significant other, specifically, right? They were summoned partially by your desire and partially by the created matrix and the watchers, right? Because the watchers are those who have the big files on us, know what we like, know what we don't like, and know how to create an offer that we're going to take.